Oh, hi. It's time for story time with Joe. I'm out here in all this water, and you know what? That reminded me of a story about water. Lots of water. And that's what we're going to read today is the story about Noah and the big flood. Noah starts building. People began to invent all kinds of lovely and useful things. They also found more and more ways to disobey God and to hurt one another. God knew that nothing he could do would bring people back to loving him and being good. They would not even listen to him. There must be a new beginning. But God found one man who loved and obeyed him and who did what was right and good to his family and to everyone around. His name, you guessed it, was Noah. One day God told Noah what he planned to do. I must put an end to all that wickedness, God said. People have spoiled my world with all their bad and cruel deeds. I am going to send a flood. But you and your family will be kept safe. You must start building a very big boat. God gave Noah the pattern and the measurements for the huge ark that would be able to survive the flood that he was going to send. It was to be made of strong wood, lined and covered with waterproof tar. That sounds kind of sticky. The ark must be big enough to hold Noah, his wife, 3 sons, and their wives. Noah must also make stalls and pens for every kind of animal and bird, and 2 of each kind, so they too could be saved from the floodwaters. Noah did just as God said. It took a long time to collect all that materials and build that enormous boat. Passers-by and those who lived near wondered what Noah's doing, and they made fun of him. As they hammered away, Noah warned them of the flood that was coming. He tried to persuade them to stop doing wrong and to obey God. But no one paid any attention to what Noah said. For a long time, Noah went on building his boat and trying to persuade people to change their ways and tell God they were sorry for the bad things that they had done. Then one day the hammering stopped. Noah's ark, it was finished. But there was still plenty of work to be done. Food must be gathered and made ready for all the passengers, humans and animals. Then the animals had to be collected, and Noah's family, they worked hard as they could. At last, the preparations were done, and it's time to go into the ark, God said. Go in, Noah. Go in with your family and all the animals. The rain will begin in a week's time. In that week, Noah got everything and everyone stowed on board. At the end of the week, the rain began to fall, just as God said it would. When Noah and his family and all the animals were safely on board, God shut the door to the ark. The rain fell night and day without stopping. Soon the torrential downpour began to swell the streams and all the rivers. Water lapped the bottom of the huge ark. As the water rose, the wooden boat, it creaked, it groaned, and it shifted. Then gently the water began to lift the ark. They were afloat. The huge craft began to drift slowly, buffeted by rain and floods. But Noah had done his work well. The ark was safe and watertight. And gradually, as the floodwaters rose higher, all the well-known landmarks disappeared. Soon, even the tops of the highest hills were covered by the water. There was nothing to see but water all around, just like I'm looking at right now. For 6 weeks, the rain fell, but God had not forgotten Noah and his family. At last, as he promised, the rain stopped. When at long last the rain stopped, Noah heard a strong wind blowing. He was glad to hear it whistling around the ark, for he knew that it would help dry the ground. Gradually, the water sank lower, and the ark, that had floated and drifted helplessly for so many days, grunted and groaned and ground to a halt on the mountains of Ararat. How good it was to be steady and firm on land again. But still, they couldn't venture out of their hiding place. Noah waited patiently for 6 more long weeks, and then he released a raven to see if there was land to settle on. The raven was glad to be free, and it stayed circling in the air, waiting for treetops to appear. And then Noah sent a dove, but by nighttime she had come back home to her master and the familiar ark. Noah gently took her aside, waiting another week, and sent her off again. This time she flew back with an olive leaf in her beak. How exciting! Everyone was to see the green was growing again. Noah waited patiently for another week, and then sent the dove off for a third time. This time she didn't come back. Now Noah knew for sure that there was enough dry land for them all to leave the ark. He took off the huge covering roof of the ark, letting in streams of wonderful welcome light. And then God spoke to Noah. Go out of the ark, he said, all of you. The flood is over. How happy Noah and his family were to get out of the ark and into the fresh air once again. The animals frolicked and scampered, and the birds flew, singing in the clear blue sky. Before they did anything else, Noah and his family thanked God for his kindness and care for them during the terrible flood. They piled up stones to make an open-air altar and offered gifts on it to God. God had kept them safe and given them a fresh start in a new world. Then God blessed Noah, his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Have many children, God said. Spread out and fill the earth. Care for the world and for all the creatures in it. I'm going to make you a promise. Never again will I flood or destroy all living things. For as long as the earth lasts, I will send you day and night, heat and cold, summer and winter. I will send you a season for sowing and a season for harvest. I'm going to give you a sign to remind you always of my promise. Whenever you look up and see a rainbow in the sky, think of my promise to you and be sure that I will keep it. After the terrible flood, Noah and his family felt a bit frightened whenever they heard rain. But they would look up, and the sun would burst through the clouds, and they'd see the rainbow shining in the sky. They remembered then that they were really safe. God would keep his promise. And God keeps his promise to us. In this story, through Noah, God gave the earth and the world a second chance. And God gives us a second chance too. When we make him sad, if we ask him to forgive us, he will forgive us and give us a second chance. So, anytime you see that rainbow up there, remember, God made a promise to Noah, and he's made a promise to us. I'll see you next week on Storytime with Joe. I got to get swimming. Bye.